Mead, mead, mead. Wonderfully wet, sinfully sweet. Heft your mead horns and hold your mugs high. We want to keep drinking until we do die. Mead, mead, mead. It's what a body needs. It makes us strong and wise and brave. There's nothing better, it's what we crave. Mead, mead, mead. I drink it morning, noon, and eve. I like it spiced and sweet and powerful. I'll soon be drunk, and that's quite probable. Mead, mead, mead.
Welcome to Jorrvaskr, the Mead Hall of the Companions. Crafted out of the hull of Ysgramor's ship that carried he and his 500 companions to Skyrim from Atmora and set at the base of the Skyforge that was there before they arrived in the late Merethic era, it has served as their base of operations for countless generations and is the perfect location to talk about the last Elder Scrolls Cookbook mead that we have made, the classic Nord Mead. It's easily the most common mead in-game, found everywhere from caves to castles and derelict ruins to taverns. The video for this batch will be a little different. Rather than filming individual components like on the previous videos in this series, I actually brewed this one live on National Mead Day in 2022. Unfortunately, that stream predated the new capture card and microphone, so you will be subjected to some
terrible visual and audio quality
for the next few minutes, as well as some real newbie streamer mistakes. Nonetheless, I have saved just enough of Vermina's torpor to dream stride back to that fateful day.
Happy Mead Day. For those of you that don't know, the first Saturday of August is Mead Day every year. I am going to actually hop on over to the bar camera sooner rather than later because we have a lot of things to get to over there. I am gonna switch over to that and we will get to sipping and brewing. So we'll get going. I am gonna switch over to that and we will get
you
to...
will know. And his name is And his name is Okay, let's try this again.
Let's start fresh.
We've got our mead here. This is the Nord mead that we're going to be brewing, but right now all I have is the honey and water together at a nice tepid 103 Fahrenheit. Before I start doing fun things like adding yeast and kind of going through the process of what I want to do with the spices and stuff, first I am going to pour myself a drink. I will sip them side by side and give some initial thoughts. Let's get to brewing. So, it calls for, on the half-gallon version of things, half a teaspoon of ground cardamom, 1 inch of fresh ginger peeled and sliced thin, the zest of 1 orange, avoiding the rind, and 1 teaspoon of whole cloves, and 1 cinnamon stick. So, guess what we're gonna do? Double all of that. Before I do that, I'm gonna add our yeast. I've had it kind of activating in this 100-ish degree water. So, we're gonna just plop that right in here and get it evenly distributed. We are using Red Star Blanc yeast. Mix it all up. Shake it all around. Ta-da. So that's going to start eating sugar and turning into delicious, delicious alcohol. I actually also do not have ground cardamom because I opted to grind it myself. So we're going to grind up 1 teaspoon of whole cardamom to really amp up the spice. Hang on 1 second. This is kind of fun, but it smells really good. All right, that is a freshly ground 1 teaspoon of cardamom. It's kind of earthy, a little spicy smelling. It reminds me of a fairgrounds sort of vibe, which is perfect for like a Nordic farmhousey vibe. So, while we're here and talking about it, on the subject of spices, on my Honning Brew mead, something I'm not really happy about was the lack of ginger influence. Like it's there, but it's too subtle. I want more. So I've just kind of decided to, even though the recipe book says just some finely chopped ginger, I'm actually also going to use a little bit extra and kind of express it a little bit. I just want to get more gingery juices out of it. We're going to go a little bit further on the amount of ginger influence we put into the Nord mead. So I'm just going to give it a couple fun little squishes in here to get some juices flowing. We'll just be really careful about this. I know this is riveting content. So we've got our ginger peeled, sliced thin, and expressed a little bit more liberally than perhaps on the Honning Brew. And now I need to grate not one, but 2 oranges. So let's get grating. In we go. Okay, so we got our orange zest, we got our cardamom, and we got our ginger. So the last 2 things are the easiest, honestly. We got 1 teaspoon of cloves in, and our last thing are 2 cinnamon sticks into the top. We're gonna mix it all up, turn ourselves around. That's what it's all about. Hopefully I don't spill too much of this on my counter. This was really fun to make. I'm really excited to taste it on camera and give you guys some thoughts on it once it's done.
As stated in the cookbook, the recipe can vary greatly from brewer to brewer. Between the orange zest and spices of this particular rendition, whether intentional or not, this recipe invokes some classic festive flavors. We originally tasted it in the penultimate episode of the Mead and Skyrim series, where we were trying to adhere to the depiction of the Dragonborn from the trailer of the game, with the iconic studded armor and iron helmet combo, glossing over the fact that we're a Breton rather than a Nord in this particular playthrough. Here's how the tasting went.
Howdy, everybody. Sorry for the delay in the start time. For those of you that know my dog Mara, named after the goddess of love, of course, she had a rough time this week. But after some meds from the vet, she's doing a lot better. We might move over to the bar real quick. And we're back. First, I'm gonna get into this winter warmer mead, and I am almost... We're probably at the dregs of the bottle, honestly, because I really liked it. So there's not a lot left to go around. This Nord mead, from what I remember, they taste not the same, but there are a lot of similarities. I'm gonna hop in here on this winter warmer. It's smelling a little more oxidized. Oh, there's a lot of nutmeg on the nose. On the palate, yeah, it's mapley and orangey and cinnamony, and there's a lot of tasty holiday flavors going on. Winter Warmer is a nod to ancient tradition and a celebration of our community. In fact, community is brewed into each bottle as we collaborate with our friends at Run Amok Maple. Winter Warmer is based on historic wassail that invokes the best of the darkest days. Sweet honey and maple syrup, bright blood orange, and warm cinnamon, vanilla, nutmeg, and cloves. Vanilla, that's what it is. The vanilla and cloves are just riding it out through the finish. And a portion of the sales of every bottle goes to a charity chosen by the employees of Run Amok Maple and Groennfell Meadery. So, 14.2% alcohol, blood orange mead with spices and maple syrup. The blood orange provides kind of the way I would describe it is almost like a round acidity. The nutmeg and cloves are giving it all of the holiday feels. Hopping over to the Nord mead. I used the same yeast on all of the ones that I brewed at home, having done several batches. I think that Premier
Blanc yeast is not the best one. It has too high of an alcohol tolerance, so all of these turn out
super dummy boozy.
Once I do these ones again, I'm gonna pick a much more lower alcohol tolerant yeast so that the mead can be a little bit like sweeter, so not all the sugars get immediately eaten up by the yeast and turned into alcohol, and then I can also drink more of it without feeling the effects as much. Ooh, on the nose, very orangey, which is kind of funny. I don't think the Nords really have a lot of access to citrus. Unless they're doing some good trading with the Khajiit, I don't know that they would be able to grow that. But it is also a fantasy world, and it doesn't matter. Very cinnamony, very orangey. Kind of reminds me, and I actually have some over here. It reminds me of like New Orleans spiced tea, which is a cinnamon, orange, clove, black tea. And I'm not gonna smell that because then all I'll be able to smell is that. But that's basically all the same ingredients as this, but tea rather than mead. Lots of cinnamon, lots of orange on the nose, and just a little hint of the sweetness going on. On the palate, ooh, it is so tasty. That is just juicy. And the cinnamon and ginger are very dominant, which is nice because the ginger was really, really subdued early on. I could barely taste it, so it's nice to see that the ginger is like kind of picking it back up. Orange and cinnamon are like really the predominant characteristics on the nose, and then on the palate, orange is right at the front, cinnamon's right at the front still, but then like as it sort of progresses across your tongue and palate, and then on the finish, that ginger and cardamom are really the things that take over at the end. So it's interesting seeing like an order of flavors come through like that rather than all at once, but I feel like I'm picking up on a little bit of that on both of these, so it's kind of interesting. I'll read what the Elder Scrolls Cookbook had to say. Nord Mead. Like all meads made at home rather than at the commercial meaderies, this recipe varies from clan to clan, village to town. But all Nords agree that it has to have certain characteristics: warming, heavy on the spices, and refreshing. This statement, warming, heavy on the spices, and refreshing, doesn't feel like a normal, stack of things that should happen at once. Like, I mean, warming and heavy on the spices, yeah, but refreshing, that doesn't feel like it fits in with that. However, the orange zest is providing that. It's giving it like a juicy body and influence on the palate without being acidic. So, I don't know, I'm really digging that. Coming back to the Nord Mead after a little more than a year, the Nord Mead has maintained a balanced flavor profile and clarified beautifully. Wow. The spices have increasingly shown through while being balanced out by the citrus zest. In particular, the clove is much more intense now than it was to me at the time. It's a real holiday treat. Speaking of, happy Robert Burns Day. If you aren't sure what that is, check out the Quench Quest stream from last year where I tasted some of my favorite scotches and chatted about the holiday. I kind of consider it my unofficial cap to the holiday season, although I've still never made the traditional Scottish dish of haggis. Kind of difficult to get the necessary ingredient of lamb guts in the States unless you're in the good graces of your local butcher. As a quick holiday aside, I wanted to let you know that I appreciate all the new subscribers from the Eggnog series. If that's you, welcome. I originally intended to make the Sweet Nog recipe from the Elder Scrolls Cookbook for a video in December, because I've been talking about doing that for like a year. But I ended up getting the stomach flu at the end of November and a cold in early December that transitioned into a sinus infection that lasted until Christmas. So all of my holiday plans for streaming, videos, holiday parties with friends, and just resting in general were essentially tanked. It did give me the space to think about this channel more, and as a result, I've decided to take a step back from streaming on QuenchQuest until I have a more consistent flow with the videos over here. My goal for 2024 is to post a video to this channel every 3 weeks, so consider this my obligatory request to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and maybe even share it with a friend, as they are the best ways to indicate to the all-powerful algorithm that my content is worth watching. I'm kind of going insane with how many ideas I've had for it, but haven't been able to dedicate the time to making them happen, so we're just gonna buckle down and get to it. I have enough ideas to make videos for an entire year at that cadence. To give you a little sneak peek, the next few videos are all on Elder Scrolls drinks. Up first is a wine video around Valentine's Day about a certain Solitude Marketplace vendor. If we have time to get back into the streams in between videos, we'll do so. I think it would be fun to stream the quests related to each of the videos, schedules permitting. Either way, I'll keep you updated in the community tab on this channel and on the QuenchQuest Instagram. Speaking of that, I also use that account instead of my personal one to post about these videos now, so be sure to follow me over there too. Truly, thank you so much for watching this video and any of my other ones. I'm really working to make this a better production over the course of this year, and I hope you'll join me for the ride. Anyways, tap here for the Robert Burns Day stream from last year, or tap here for the stream where we first tasted the Nord Mead and tried to build as lore accurate of a Dragonborn as we could with our character at the time. It's so good. I'm just wondering where the Nords got the oranges from.